Hi, everybody. So, yeah, as I mentioned in the last video at the tail end there, so I was doing a little bit of some match drilling. So you can see I've got my drill out there, and I have a step drill into it. So each of the ribs has a form hole in the middle. It's one of the holes that's used during the stamping and the pressing of the rib, just to hold the metal in place so that it doesn't get moved. Um, Anyway, the instructions show that what you need to do is on some of the ribs, you need to drill a secondary hole. Uh, and it gives you the dimensions. It's like 169 millimeters from the front and 108 from the other hole. Anyway, it's kind of parallel with that first hole, and we're going to use those as access holes through the ribs to run wires. And there's a very specific set. Make sure to look at the plans. I did not look at the plans, so I hadn't actually drilled anything because it's not very clear. Different ribs will have different holes for different bushings, and the cables and wires that you use will go through these holes. Well, you don't need the same size holes all the way down because you are trying to save weight. So read the instructions because each rib will have a specific set of holes sizes drilled. And there I am looking back and forth at the plans about a million times to make sure I do not screw this up. There's actually 3 different holes that you'll have to drill. One is right near the leading edge of the rib. Those are mostly on the inboard side, and then there's the 2 main ones that I'd already talked about. Those are throughout, but some of them only get drilled in the outboard side, so you'll see which ones. And there I am chatting with members of the club, of course, and then back to deburring. Which is nice, and it kind of brings me to an interesting place. So the next step after I deburr everything is, of course, it's just going to be priming and then putting the whole thing together. When I say whole thing, I just mean attaching the ribs to the spar itself. I mean, it's an entire chapter, right? Which is no problem. Each of them are 6 to 7 rivets, and it's got the 2 bolts with the nuts on them. Very simple. The problem is, once you've got those ribs, riveted to the spar, you've basically got this big hunking spar and all these extremely fragile ribs that are only being held on in one place by a row of rivets, right? The nerves are high. God forbid that thing tumps over the side of the table, or I drop it onto the floor and it's just effed. I mean, the spar would be fine, but all those ribs would just be screwed. And, they're not thick. So part of me is thinking about waiting and actually starting on the rear spar at the same. So the rear spar is the next chapter, of course. So you put the ribs on, and the very first thing that you want is to put that rear spar on to secure those ribs in place. Now, even with the rib spar on, it basically kind of acts like, I don't know, like dominoes caught between 2 cards or something. Like it would be very flexible. You could still bend the crap out of it. All right, there's no side bracing. Because I mean that's what the skin's for. That's what the skin and various J channels are for. But anyway, so yeah, basically once I rivet these things, I'm going to be busting my ass to make sure I can. I might not get the rear spar done, but I will always, at least when I'm not working on it, have the rear spar clecoed to the ribs, and I will have something to keep it square, and I will have it, firmly clamped down. In case of things like earthquake. Yeah. Had one the other night. 2:40 in the morning, minding my own business, snoring away. And I kept snoring away, but my wife decided to throw herself on top of me because she loves me that hard to protect me. House shook for about 10 seconds. Not too bad. I think it was a 4.5. It was pretty close to us. It was pretty deep, too. Because that water's cold, and it's deep, too. So, yeah, I'm just wandering around because well, deburring sucks. Poured myself a little stiff one there, as you saw. So in a second here, I think I'm going to have some extra help, because apparently I just don't want to be deburring anything. There we go. So my friend Ted came by. He really loves working on the plane. He volunteers for the EAA chapter out of Livermore, where he's a member. Anyway, yep, we're just going to be deburring these ribs. This shit just never ends. And join us in the next video. So see you.